welcome to the 266th episode of the Video Games podcast, where we talk about any game at all, including new stuff, old stuff, and anything in between. If we are playing it, we'll be talking about it. Today we are recording on January 6, 2022. My name is Brad Galloway. I am the editor of GameCritics.com, and 50% of this here show with me is the woman who married me, Gina Galloway.
Hey, everyone.
Hey, welcome to the show, honey. What you doing down here?
Standing in our cold basement.
That is very true, also known as the Game Critics West Studio. Thank you so much for joining me. People listening to the show may be feeling a little puzzled right now, expecting probably Carlos Rodella, who is my normal co-host. Carlos, unfortunately, came down with a really hellacious case of syphilis on a sex tour of Northern Europe. Best wishes to that guy. I think the surgery is going to go just fine. Until he returns next week, we do have you here, so thank you for stepping in.
No problem. Happy to do it.
All right. So you have been on the show before, and it's been quite a while, though. I think the last time you were on the show was when original co-host Corey Motley was still around. Does that seem about right?
I think so. So it's been a couple of years now, at least.
At least. Yeah. We actually did a couple of episodes with you in the past. In the first version of Video Games with Corey, you came on a couple times, and I think the best episode we had you on, if memory serves, is we were talking about, it was some dating sim. I can't remember the name of it, but it was about a really aggressive, like pickup artist game, and it was set from the female perspective. Unfortunately, my memory fails me right now. I should have done the research, but listeners know we don't do any research on the show. But that was a really good episode, and we had a really long chat with me giving like the straight guy perspective, you giving the female perspective, and Corey had some interesting things to say from the gay perspective back then. So that was, I think, a really good episode. I'm glad we had you on, and it's been, I guess since then, since we've had you on, it's been too long.
Yeah, that was probably the last one. It was a good discussion. I mean, really, could we top it? So we just needed to take a break for a while.
Yeah, that's a really hard act to follow. So anyway, thank you very much for coming back and stepping in for Carlos last minute. Really, really appreciate it. So I guess before we kick things off, I'm sure we've have a lot of listeners who weren't around back then. We've gained a lot of listeners, grown the show quite a bit, which is awesome. But there's probably a lot of people out there who have never heard your voice on the show before and probably missed those episodes. So I guess, would you mind just telling us a little bit about yourself? Like specifically, I mean, obviously you're my wife, mother of my child, love of my life, great woman all around, 2 thumbs up. But,
Wow, only 2.
Well, if I had a third one, I'd give it to you. Maybe later.
Boy.
I guess you want to tell people listening what your game background is. I mean, you're a gamer through and through, right? And that's really one of the things I love most about you. Not the only thing, but one of the things. When we got married, it was really important to me that the person I married, like, at least be okay with games, if not a gamer. And you actually were like a full-on gamer. So
well, I think you should probably share the story of our first date.
I don't know if I've ever talked about that. Yeah, so our very first date, this is funny. So on our very first date, we had been kind of eyeing each other and making, tentative first steps. And I believe I asked you out after work one night. Was it Applebee's or something like that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, probably not my restaurant of choice, but it was super close to work. And so it didn't seem so creepy. And it was a safe place. If I turned out to be a creep, you could escape. If you were a creep, I could escape. Whatever. And so we went to Applebee's because that was close by and still open. We were working the night shift at that time. And so we went in, had dinner. I believe you had the Asian chicken salad. Pretty sure. I probably had some chicken strips or something like that. And at the end of the dinner, we were going to go Dutch. We're each going to pay for our own dinner because that's just, no one wanted to be on the hook for anything at that particular point since we were just getting to know each other. You opened up your wallet and I saw that you had a GameStop discount card in your wallet. And, back when GameStop was still a thing. Is it still a thing? I don't even know if those stores are still around.
I mean, they're trying.
God, it's been so long since I've been to GameStop. But anyway, you opened up your wallet and I was sitting so close that, not like I was trying to like peek in your wallet, but it just happened to be there. And I saw it and I'm like, whoa, like, is that your GameStop discount card? And you said,
why, yes, it is.
And I'm like, showing. Got to keep her here, folks. And here we are. What is it, 16, 17 years later?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's worked out really well. So that was good call by me, pat on my back, and good call for you for being who you are. So apart from that story, let's talk about your particular gameography, your background. So, like I said, you've always been a gamer from the get go, which is awesome. Now, when I met you, you were pretty deep into like third person platformers, like character action platformers, kind of like, the Marios and that kind of thing, Crash Bandicoot, etc., etc. Now, are you still in that zone, or like, how would you describe yourself as a game player?
I would still describe myself that way, but I platformers were always my go-to games. Those were always the ones I loved with the puzzles and jumping around and everything. Those were my favorite kind of games. But as I was thinking about it as we were getting prepared for the show, I was thinking about what my favorite games recently that I've played, and I was thinking about Dark Souls and Let It Die and The Witcher, and those are games that I've loved recently playing, and I would love to go back and try them again. And so none of those are platformers. So would I still consider myself that's my go-to game? I don't know.
I mean, it's a good question because the action platformer or character based platformer is something that's really, they're not gone, but they've really fallen out of favor recently. I mean, we saw the Crash Bandicoot revamp like last year or the year before. I mean, there's always like a Sonic games coming around somewhere, like that never goes away, but they're not nearly as popular as they used to be, although we are seeing a small resurgence. So, I mean, it makes perfect sense that you may still want your heart to be there, but they're just not as available as they used to be. Um, so I guess that's fine. I mean, you really do have gamer cred, and like you mentioned off like The Witcher, which is like, I mean, one of my favorite games of all time, certainly. And Dark Souls. I know that the new Elden Ring is coming out in February. Are you excited about that?
I'm very excited. I
Very
can't wait.
excited. I am actually excited too, and I believe that our plan is to play that co-op. If I'm pretty sure you can co-op it all the way through, from what I know. I mean, that may be wrong information, but I'm definitely looking forward to playing that co-op with you. It's funny because I was recently talking to a friend who was a very big Dark Souls fan, and they were saying they kind of had their fill of the series because they played through them all a million times and were looking for new experiences. And they were going to probably give Elden Ring a pass, and were asking me, was I going to jump in or how was I feeling? Kind of taking my temperature on it. And honestly, I'm not sure that I would have played it if not for you, because I know that you're excited about it, and you being excited makes me excited. And doing something like that co-op all the way through, I mean, I'm really looking forward to that, especially because in the past we have done co-op in various FromSoft games, but it's always been such a fucking pain in the ass to like co-op. They've never made it really, really easy. So hopefully this time it's going to be simple, right?
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that part of it. So I'm excited.
I am excited too. Okay, excellent. Well, let's just get right to it. I think tonight's going to be a shorter show for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning here. This is not usually when we record, but since Gina and I are both parents and we both have things that we do online in terms of work, this was the only time we could record. So we're probably not going to be here until the break of dawn. Also, since Carlos is laid up with his medication going and that IV running, I'm going to be handling the podcast editing duties this week. And I don't think I've ever edited a podcast in my life. So we're going to keep this short. I need a little bit less work on my plate, and hopefully I can get this thing stitched together and it's not going to sound like too much of a Frankenstein. So, with that said, let's get into the usual next segment of our show. Now, honey, I know you've heard me record this show before. Carlos and I generally share a virtual living space. It's a big house, split down the middle with a roll of duct tape. He's not here, so I guess we're going to talk about our actual living space because we do literally share a living space, and there is no duct tape down the middle, but we still have quite a bit of housekeeping to do. So, this is the segment where we talk about anything at all just to kind of get warmed up for the show. I have maybe like one or two things, but of course, you being the guest here on the show, would you like to kick us off with anything?
Would I like to kick us off? Well, I think the top thing that has been on our mind lately, besides, the dumpster fire that is the world right now, is just the weather that we've been having lately. All the snow being. I didn't think that we could have more cabin fever than we have had with this quarantine, with the pandemic, with all of that stuff. And then, Mother Earth decided, hold my beer, here's a snowstorm. So you can just be completely frozen inside your house for the next week. So that's been fun. Today, I think, was the first day where things kind of fully melted off and we could walk on the sidewalk without cracking our skulls open. So that has been a bitch this week. I have not been enjoying this. And
Yeah.
even Whitty, our son, was the first couple of days super excited. It's the snow. I'm gonna play out in it. And after like a couple of days, he was like, I'm good. This can go now. I'm done. So
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's a good point because, we are still definitely on the conservative side when it comes to COVID, especially with Omicron coming around and today's announcement of the flu Rona. Jesus
oh
H.
my
Christ,
god.
right? I mean, give me a fucking break. So we definitely
uh,
like our masking and not going out to very many things, and our son's not boosted, so that really cuts into the places that we want to expose ourselves. We've been really staying home a lot, but we've still been taking walks around the neighborhood. We've been getting groceries, going to the farm store to get supplies for our chickens or whatever. But man, that snow hit. And, to be honest, it's not a ton of snow. I mean, a lot of places get more snow than we do.
oh sure.
But number one, I mean, Seattle and Western Washington doesn't generally get much snow at all. And also the thing about Seattle is we got a lot of fucking hills here and they're really steep hills. So even a little bit of snow turns a regular hill into like a death slide into oblivion.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm originally from Minnesota, so I get that this is not a lot of snow. This is a dusting in a lot of areas. And I didn't realize until I moved out of Minnesota that how little money is put into other areas that don't get a lot of snow, how little money is put into managing the snow, which makes sense, right? You don't need to have a bunch of plows and the process for, taking care of the roads if you only get snow once every few years. But then when you do get that little dusting, all bets are off. Schools are closed. Nobody's going anywhere. The, grocery stores are empty and all this stuff. So, but this week has been pretty rough. There was a decent amount of snow and it was just really icy and just it was terrible. I mean, lucky for us, we had a warm house, we had stocked pantry, we were good to go, but I am ready to get out of the house for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I was gonna say, what was I bringing to housekeeping today? We've been stuck at home, like you just said, and so we've been watching a little more TV than usual since we haven't been able to get out at all. And one of the things that we've been watching recently is Last Man on Earth, the one that stars Will Forte. The show begins where he thinks he literally is the last man on Earth because of a viral outbreak in I guess America and the world. Hitting a little close to home right now, so a little bit uncomfortable with that. But it's generally a pretty funny series. The entire thing wrapped up. I think there's 4 or 5 seasons. We're watching it on Hulu, and it's good because for people who haven't seen it, like as the premise states, virus for whatever reason, I don't know if he's immune or maybe he was just in a bunker or something. It's not really clear what happened, but as the series starts, he's as far as he knows, the last person alive on Earth. He's driving around America. He's writing on billboards saying that he's planning to move to Tucson. So like he drives from one end of the country to the other, and every big billboard he sees, he like parks and writes, alive in Tucson, come to Tucson, all across the country. And it sounds like kind of a, I don't know, like Walking Dead post-apocalyptic sort of a show, and it is on some levels, but it's also really funny. It's funny because there's just jokes and there's funny situations. Of course, it's not much of a spoiler to say that he is not literally the last person on Earth because all the promos, all the trailers do show other people, so it's not a spoiler there. But the thing that I think is interesting about the show, and I definitely want to get your thoughts on this, honey. From one thing, so it's a comedy, but there's also many moments where it's like poignant or thoughtful or really honest about the human condition. And the other thing that I think is really, really, really interesting about the show is the main character. His name is Phil Miller. He is a complete piece of shit. He is a complete asshole, and it's funny
He's
because
such a dick.
yeah, he's a total piece of shit. It's interesting because you would think that him being the protagonist of the show, that he would be the one you're rooting for, that he'd be the one that the audience would identify with, and kind of at first he is when he's all by himself.
He's not even really an anti-hero in my
No,
opinion.
no, he's
He's
just an
just a
asshole.
dick.
Yeah, he's a really broken human being in a lot of ways. Was very likely broken before the pandemic, so
Yes.
it's not because of that.
It
But it's
was
only made worse, right?
yeah,
Exacerbated.
it was just enhanced.
It's so funny because for the first 1 or 2 episodes, before anybody shows up, you're thinking, "Oh, he's so lonely. It must be so tough to be alone." And he's kind of like going a little nutso. And then when people show up, you're like, "Oh, actually, you're just a dick. you're just a piece of shit." So, I mean, I've really been enjoying the show a lot. I think we're pretty close to the end of season 2. What do you? No spoilers, of course, but what do you
Sure.
think of it?
I can't. No spoilers.
No
No
spoilers. We are a
spoilers.
spoiler-free
Okay.
show.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying it. I wasn't sure. I was a little skeptical the first few episodes. Also, I am hardcore trying to avoid shows that remind me of real life uh, terribleness.
Every show's about a
So
virus
I
these
know, right?
days.
And so yeah, so I was a little nervous about whether this could really be funny or if I would just be thinking, COVID the whole time. Um, and it's been really good. I have really enjoyed it. I think one of my favorite things about the show is the fact that nobody puts up with the main character Phil Miller's bullshit. Like they don't even like pretend to, or like kind of like, be okay with it, or just like move on or whatever. Like they're like, you're lying, you're an asshole, and then they just like move on. And I find that kind of hilarious. It's such a small group and stuff, and I appreciate that they're just like, you're a dick, and they just like move on. And that's just one of the pieces that I've found very amusing by it.
Yeah, I agree. He makes a lot of really bad choices. He's like a pathological liar, and he's very self-centered. And if he got away with that, it would make the show like really unwatchable because he would just be the shitty guy doing shitty things. But like you said, like I mean, he gets away with like a couple things until people are onto him, and then they start calling him out. I mean, like giving him various punishments and just like catching him in his lies and stuff. And I really like how he's making bad choices and paying the price for it, and he still can't stop making the bad choices. So he's like a super bad.
He tries for a
Yeah,
while, but then he can't do it. And it's those moments, we've talked about this before, where he is asked a question and he has like this like 3-second period where you can see him going, what do I want to say? I could say the truth or I could lie. What could I get out of it? Can I get away with it? It's like you can literally like see
yeah,
the thought
yeah.
bubble happening, and it's hilarious.
Yeah, Will Forte does a good job of portraying Phil Miller. He's just like this weird, scheming weasel, and there's like the shred of a good person in there somewhere, but oh man, it's not very much. There's a lot of bad surrounding that shred of a good person. So I think it's really interesting, but also there's more to it than that. I mean, there's living in the new world, there's relating to people in post-apocalypse, etc., etc. So I mean, so far we've got about half of the show's run left, so I'm very curious to see where it goes. But so far, definitely a thumbs up. I'm digging it.
Yep, agreed.
All right. I think the only other thing on my plate. Did you have anything else you want to bring, or
No,
no?
I'm
Okay.
good.
All right.
I finished my housekeeping.
All
Thanks.
right. Yeah, you're pretty good at
I'm
housekeeping.
efficient.
Yeah, very efficient. The last thing I was going to mention is Irish oatmeal, also known as steel cut oatmeal. It seems like here in America, and you can feel free to contradict me if I'm wrong. I
I
feel
do.
like I feel like a lot of people don't have a good relationship with oatmeal, and I feel like a lot of that is like squarely on the fault of the Quaker the Quaker guy I mean the Quaker is a Quaker, so that guy, you know what I'm talking about. Uh,
That dude.
yeah, Quaker oatmeal. Their mascot is a Quaker, so it felt weird to say Quaker so many times, and now I've said it like 10 more
Now you
times.
could
Now I've
maybe
made it
one more.
weird.
One more.
Quaker,
Yeah. Okay.
Quaker. Um, instant oatmeal's gross. It's slimy and sludgy and nasty, and I feel like that's probably a lot of people's experience with it. On top of the fact, I mean, real talk, a lot of people in America just don't know how to cook at all. And I blame the educational system. I blame American culture with both parents having to work. And so that knowledge isn't getting passed down. I mean, we could talk about that for like an hour, right? But like a lot of people just don't know how to cook oatmeal properly. And I think oatmeal is delicious. It's one of our favorite breakfast foods. You got to cook it right. You got to give it the right condiments and stuff. It's really, really good. But I think rolled oats is what we usually have. And instead of rolled oats, we've been having steel cut oats, which is a different kind of oat. It's also known as Irish oatmeal. I don't know if the Irish actually eat it that way. If anybody in Ireland is listening, please let me know. Because it would be funny if you guys called that American oatmeal over there. I don't know if that's true or not. Um, but it's nutty. It cooks a lot longer, like maybe like 45 minutes to cook, and it has a very different texture. It ends up kind of like being a really, I mean, kind of like a porridge, kind of like a thicker tapioca, but not as gummy. I made it for our son Whitaker for the very first time a couple days ago. I just had like a wild hair and I wanted to cook that and not rolled oats. So I'm like, well, we're gonna try this for a change. And I honestly, I wasn't sure he was gonna like it. I thought there was a very good chance he was gonna just be like, yeah, Dad, this is gross. This is not for me. He ended up loving it. He loved it. He ate all that we had, and then he made me cook it for him the next day. So I feel like that was a win. How do you feel about Irish oats, honey?
I think they're delicious. I think the only reason I don't make them more is because they are kind of a time intensive kind of
Yeah,
thing.
slow cooked.
I mean, we have an instant pot. We can do Irish oats in that. But I mean, I've really liked them. Normally the way we make our oatmeal is, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, we don't want to hear any
Everybody's
more about
super
your
interested in
oatmeal.
this right now. I know. Please
but
fast forward 5 minutes if you don't want to hear this, folks.
but we've always made our oatmeal, our rolled oatmeal with about like what, a third, a quarter of steel cut
Yeah,
mixed in.
like 2/3 rolled oats, 1/3 steel
Yeah,
cut.
because it adds to the texture, it adds to the nuttiness. So I think that's part of the reason why Whitaker likes it, is because we kind of already had oatmeal that way, like with that
The
nuttier
flavor
flavor
is
to it.
familiar. Yeah.
And that added to the texture. So I mean, yes, it's delicious. It's been cold and miserable and shitty outside, so a good bowl of oatmeal with some brown sugar and nuts and raisins and all that stuff. Well, not raisins.
I mean,
Fuck
I
raisins.
I love raisins. I mean, my way to have a bowl of oatmeal is like raisins, a little bit of shredded coconut, some milk, brown sugar,
Chia
chia
seeds.
seeds, maybe. So it's a pretty
I will
hearty
do
bowl.
all of that, but the raisins can
Well,
be tossed in the bin.
we'll talk about that after the show. All right. I think that's going to do it for housekeeping. We are good on that. I'm sure the listeners are good as well. We're going to get on to the main content of the show. Last week or the week before, Carlos brought the Gunk to the show. This one is a third person action platformer, kind of an adventure game about a woman who has a prosthetic right arm, which can do all sorts of different things, going to a planet. And a big part of the gameplay is absorbing the gunk. It's like this, I don't know, purple, blackish, weird, viscous stuff that's kind of killing the planet. And your main character needs to like clean it up, kind of like a Mario Sunshine sort of thing. Sucks it up with her arm, at the same time exploring the planet, having a lot of dialogue with her co-pilot, I mean slash partner, I guess. I don't know, back at the ship. So it's kind of a real kind of Firewatch vibe where there's a lot of banter back and forth, a lot of character development going on. So I played it a bit. Carlos played it a lot. He really liked it a lot, but I know that you've also played it, and I figured this would be a good chance to talk about it a little bit more in depth. So why don't you give us your thoughts on the Gunk? I know you've been digging this lately.
I have. I haven't finished it quite yet, so I haven't come to the climax of the game yet. But
And no spoilers, by the way.
yeah. Wait, I can't.
Again, no
I
spoilers.
I
Yes.
thought we did spoilers on this.
That's
No.
a no.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I've really been enjoying it. I've had a hard time lately, honestly. I don't know if you've talked about this lately, but just getting into games lately. I don't know if it's just the world or work or what it is. And so this has been the first one in a while that I've kind of gotten back into it. There's not it's nothing too intensive, not super complicated. It's a pretty straight up game, like you said. You're running around, you're cleaning up this gunk, you're collecting resources, you're basically cleaning up this planet that you thought didn't really have anything for you to take, which is kind of a weird part of the game so far that I'm noticing, that I'm like, it's kind of weird because like you said, there's that banter with her and her person on the ship, and they're talking about like, oh my god, all these planets have been like, you know, raped of all their resources, and we don't want like the higher ups to know about this because they're going to come in and just take all this stuff while you're cleaning it up and then instantly taking away resources after you do that. So
Right.
it's just kind of a weird, I mean, I'm sure I'm just thinking way too much into this, but I'm kind of curious to see where it's going to go because again, I'm not to the end yet. It's just weird to me because they have this discussion about that, and yet as soon as you clean it up, new resources instantly spring up and you're supposed to suck them up and use them to improve your little arm machinery that you have and stuff like that. And it just feels weird to be like, I'm going to clean all this up and oh my god, I can't believe all these people are taking these resources. I'm also going to take these resources. So anyway, moving on. And so that's a little odd part. But so far it's been really enjoyable. I mean, there's like a tiny bit of combat in there that you have to do, but honestly it's mostly just maneuvering around the world, cleaning it up, finding these resources, improving your stuff, and then just kind of moving on to the next thing. Again, nothing super complicated, and it's kept my interest, which is saying something because again, I feel like a lot of stuff I start it and then I'm just like anyway, moving on, and then I just don't come back to it. So but I've been enjoying this one. It's It's been pretty good.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I don't know how long it is. I know Carlos said it was only maybe 6 or 8 hours at the most or something. So you're probably pretty close to the
Yeah, I
end.
think I'm almost done.
What do you think it is about this one that's grabbed you, whereas so many other games recently haven't really stuck? And I totally second that. By the way, I've been really feeling the exact same thing myself. But why do you think this one stuck?
I think the simplicity in a good way. There's just the expectations are very clear on what you need to do and how you're maneuvering. I think also honestly, like talking at the beginning of the show today, talking about what kind of games I like. This one feels a little bit like some of the early platformers I used to play and stuff like that. So I think there's a little bit of that too, like a little bit of a nostalgia feel to it. So yeah, I mean, it just for whatever reason has just really stuck with me. And again, I feel like it's the kind of just I can jump in, do a little bit, and just jump back out, which I think has been appealing, especially to my schedule. So
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I've been putting some time into it as well. I think you're definitely a lot further than I am because I'm kind of jumping back and forth between a few things. I mean, I think it's pretty good. I don't know that it's hooked me as much as it's hooked you. I think I do like the banter a lot, and I want to get your opinion. Like, what do you think of the talk? Because as you're the main character, I forget what her name is, but she's with the robot arm, running
it's
around on the planet,
Ronnie or something like
Ronnie,
that.
something like that. When she's out in the field, like jumping, hopping and bopping, picking up the sludge with her arm and getting resources and stuff, like almost the entire time, you've got the voice of your I mean, I don't know if you guys are just business partners, maybe you're life partners. It's kind of undetermined at the part of the game where I'm at. But she stays back in the ship, and she's the pilot. And so she'll often come in on your comm link on your ear, and she'll be like, "Oh, hey, we've got interference over here, and I found this thing over here, and how's it going?" And you kind of have these little dialogues back and forth. And I think that's actually pretty cool. It's probably my favorite part of the whole game so far. What do you think about that dialogue and that kind of the banter back and forth?
I've been enjoying that. I think you see as they go on, and not none of this is spoiler, but you see as you go on that they have kind of differing views of what their goal should be while they're there. And that becomes a lot of what the banter is about is what are they trying to accomplish while they're there, and it's pretty clear that one of them thinks the goal should be one thing and one thinks the should be something else. So that lends itself to some conflict that happens between them, and that continues in the discussion. So that, yeah, the banter I think has been an interesting part of it. I definitely, I, it drives me crazy when I play games and there's discussions that are happening and I'm also trying to accomplish something. And that hasn't happened a ton in this, which I appreciate. Like you can just kind of stop and let them have their discussion or just continue to suck up the gunk and it's not really interfering necessarily, which I definitely appreciate.
That's actually a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up because I feel the exact same thing, and I don't know that we've ever really talked about it that much on the show, but that's very true. A lot of times developers want to get like their world building in or their lore or whatever, and they'll have you doing something. You're walking from point A to point B, or maybe you're doing a combat or something, and then at the same time, somebody's coming in on the radio, and they'll be telling you something. Oh, your next objective is this, or oh, I heard about this, and it's really poorly done most of the time because in a lot of instances, if you're in the middle of combat, you're paying attention to blocking, dodging, shooting. And I don't know about you guys, the listeners out there, but for me, most of my brain power is probably devoted to staying alive in combat, and I'm not really listening to what's going on. I can't like pay close attention to the nuances of the script when I'm trying to like stay alive, or like there's always something on. You're flying a ship, or you're dodging meteors or something, and I get really irritated because I can't focus on two things at once. I mean, human beings are not really built that way, but I will say I didn't really notice it until you brought it up, but now that you brought it up, I totally agree that the developers of the Gunk have done a really good job of, despite the fact that there's a lot of dialogue, they have timed it so that usually when the dialogue comes in, there's not usually anything going on. Like the most you're doing is like maybe walking from point A to point B and just walking, like nothing hardcore. There's not a lot of combat. Or maybe you're doing like one or two platform jumps, but nothing that takes too much brain power. So, I bet that's intentional because it's really, really well done. And I can't remember any time when I was playing the gunk and I was like, "Oh, shut up! I'm doing something and I can't focus." Like it's very measured, right?
Yeah, no, I would agree. And that is definitely a pet peeve of mine when I'm playing a game and I'm clearly supposed to be paying attention to what they're telling me or, this is an interesting part or whatever and I can't because I've got like five other things that are happening on the screen and I'm trying to like defend myself or run away or do whatever it is I'm trying to do, and also listen to what they're prattling on about, and I'm just like, I just can't.
I didn't spend a lot of time with it, but if memory serves, and it may not, I believe the Spider-Man game from Insomniac. I didn't put a lot of time into that, but I think that you played it a lot more than I did. In that game, when Peter Parker, we haven't played the Miles Morales one yet, but the Peter Parker one, um, if he was talking to somebody and then a fight broke out, didn't he say something like, "Hold on, I'll call you back," and then you did the fight, and then when the fight was over, he'd be like, "Where were we?" Is that the game? I feel like that's
I
what it was.
I don't remember.
You can just say yes.
Maybe
It's fine.
yes, that is a thing that
I'm pretty
happened in
sure. I'm
that.
pretty sure it's one of the Spider-Man games. So kudos if that's true. If not, some developer please steal that idea. And also kudos to the Gunk for not having you try to do two things at once. So I don't know that I'm going to finish it because I'm just feeling really scattered right now, and I have like three other games that I'm kind of jumping between. Do you feel like you're going to finish the Gunk?
Yeah, I'll probably finish that one. I'm pretty close to the end, I feel, so I'll probably wrap it up maybe this weekend.
All right, right on, right on. All right, that was the Gunk. You're playing it on Xbox S, I believe. Is it on Game Pass? It is Game Pass, right?
The
It's got to
No,
be.
was
No,
it?
it's
I
got to be
thought
Game
you.
Pass.
I don't know.
I think it's Game Pass. All right, let me talk for a minute about Dead Cells. So, as we say at the show, new stuff, old stuff, anything in between. I don't know that this is old, but it's definitely not new, so I guess it's maybe in between. And I feel like the people listening to the show probably already have a good familiarity with Dead Cells, but just in case, this is a 2D action platformer roguelike that came out a while ago from developer Motion Twin. Pretty big splash when it hit. I think the main claim to fame was the animation's pretty off the hook here. It's pretty good, really smooth, really action packed, and there are a lot of different weapons in the game. And just playing Dead Cells has a very unique feel to it, like the momentum, the speed, how it feels to jump up and down on platforms and do the weapons. I mean, it's got a great tactile feel to it. But basically, there is a story. I don't know exactly what the story is because I'm not very far in the game. Never got very far. But you play like a cluster of cells, I guess you are. And you attach yourself to like a dead body at the beginning of a run. And this is a roguelike, remember? So you attach yourself to a body. You go through in this 2D action platformy way, uh, collecting resources, gold, collecting cells that you use for upgrades. Get as far as you can. And if you die, you get sent back to the beginning as a cluster of cells, and you pick up a new body and try again. Um, so I like roguelikes. Everybody who listens to the show knows I am like Mr. Roguelike. I play them all. I started this one when it came out a while ago, and to be perfectly honest, I felt like it was really fucking hard and punishing. I like the graphics, I like the animation, I like the concept, but this one did not feel like it had a lot of progression where you'd go onto a run, you might pick up some cells for upgrades that are permanent, but if you die, like you lose a lot of them. I think almost all of them, if not all of them. And then you get back to the beginning and it's like, oh, you're basically at zero. So it's really punishing in terms of modern roguelikes. And I just felt like a lot of the bosses were extremely difficult. And I feel like the difficulty ceiling of this game was just really, really high. So although I mean, I play hard games when they click with me, but for some reason this one didn't click with me and I put it aside because I figured, oh, a couple patches, a couple updates, maybe they'll polish that difficulty down a little bit, and they'll add some new content and stuff. So they've had, I think, at least 3 or 4 really big DLC updates, and I believe there's one more coming that I believe may be the final one. They've been working on this game for at least 2 or 3 years since release, so kudos to them. But I jumped back in for whatever reason. I just felt like I wanted to play it again because I never really got the measure of it, and it's been good and fun. Still good to play in terms of how it feels, fast action, responsive controls, great animation. It's definitely easier. I'm not going to say that's easy by any means, but I definitely feel like I'm getting a lot further than I used to. So I don't think that I've specifically gotten better at this game. I think the game is just like slightly more forgiving, which is good. But I gotta say, it still feels really punishing. The progression is very slow. I feel like it takes a long time to unlock things that you can use on future runs. And in general, it's just like unlocking different weapons and stuff. Like you're not really getting like super, super stronger, apart from things like maybe getting an extra life flask or something to give yourself some healing. So I like it a lot. I really kind of wish it was not so much of a grind because as every time I do a run and fail, I come back and it's just kind of soul crushing because the gains are so small. But I really want to like it a lot, and I just man, I don't know if I'm going to go the distance though. So I'm kind of chipping away at it now. It's definitely in better shape than it was, and if anybody liked it back then, it might be a good time to revisit, especially since the final DLC is going to be dropping very very soon, if not already. Um, but I don't know. I think this one might just be a little bit more than I want to commit to. So we'll see. We'll see. Gina, I know that you're not the biggest fan of
Oh my
roguelikes.
god, no.
Have you? I don't. Have I ever gotten you to play any? You must have played at least one or
Yeah, I
two.
mean, I can't think of any names off the top of my head, but like listening to you describe this game, talking about like working through your level and putting all this time and effort into it and then dying and getting reset with like nothing, it raises my blood pressure just hearing about it. So roguelike it's not my genre of game.
Yeah, I know it's not yours. It's definitely not Carlos's either. And it's a very specific kind of roguelike that I like, and that's probably why I bounced off this one. I don't like them to be super punishing, right? I like the thing that I like about this, and I've talked about this before. The thing I like about roguelikes is that when you start a run, you don't always know what you're going to have. And so I like the moment to moment improvisation of like, okay, last time I had a sword and a shield, that worked out fine. This time I don't have that same sword. Maybe I have a gun, maybe I have a spear, maybe I have an axe, and all those things handle differently. Maybe I have a special weapon, maybe I have a boost or a buff that I have that I didn't have last time. So I like the moment to moment improvisation. How am I playing differently based on the gear that I have this time around? And that's a different kind of micro challenge that I enjoy. But even though I enjoy that kind of stuff, I also want to feel like I'm making progress. Like I want to feel like I'm going to eventually beat the game because I don't want to feel like I'm just like throwing my time away. And a lot of the best roguelikes these days really are respectful of that, where they'll make you feel like you're working towards an endpoint. You're slowly getting better. You're increasing stats. And I like that how the genre has progressed in that way. But I think Dead Cells to me is a little bit too harsh, even still. I'm still chipping away, but it definitely doesn't check all my boxes. So I may bounce. This is probably not something you're ever going to play, is it?
No, not from from the description I'm hearing right now. I
Yeah.
mean, I definitely like listening to, you explain what you like about roguelike games. I totally can understand that, and I think a big reason why I'm not like they don't often click with me is exactly what you were talking about, where like I want a beginning, middle, end. Like I am one of those people, like I want to accomplish, I want to be done. Like I wrapped it up, I'm good, I won, and I move on.
Yes.
And I don't always feel that way with those, or at least I'm not feeling the progression because it just feels like I start over and I start over and I start over, and that's just not for me.
Yeah, it's not for everybody, certainly, and I don't know that this one's even for me anyway. So, I just thought it was worth mentioning. Dead Cells still a thing, still getting updates, still getting rebalances. It plays great on the Switch, which is where I'm playing it. I believe it's on every platform at the moment. But if you want a balls hard roguelike that does have some great animation and great concepts, check it out. All right, let's move on really quickly. Next on the agenda, KeyWe, KeyWe. I talked about this one last episode, but you were not here, and Carlos had not played the game at that point. So I thought it was worth bringing back just to kind of talk about it a little bit more in depth. For those people who don't know, or if you didn't catch last episode, this is I mean, you can play it by yourself, but it's obviously intended to be a two-player co-op experience where you play as two Kiwi birds, Jeff and Deborah, which I think is very adorable. You are very small, as Kiwi birds are, and you're working in a full-sized post office. Oh, it's not exactly a post office. It's like a post office. It's also like I don't know, like a way station out in the wilds of New Zealand, I guess. Where you're also like you have these emus, which are like your messenger birds, and you've got boxes and parcels to deliver, and you're kind of just like out in the boonies, and you're helping a full size human run his post office in the best way you can. So, like for example, if someone has a telegram, you need to type it out. You have to like jump up on a keyboard and use your whole body to type the keys. Or if you have a parcel to send,
You bounce on your butt a lot.
yeah, you bounce on your butt a lot. These Kiwis do a lot of butt stomping. If you have a parcel to send, you got like one Kiwi will push the parcel, the other one will kind of get a sticker on their butt and butt stomp it on top of the box to label it for shipping, that kind of a thing, where you're using your small size to kind of manipulate things that are generally like the size of a human person. So we played a fair amount of this, probably like 3/4 of it, I think. We took a short break, but what are your thoughts on KeyWe so far? Because I think I wouldn't have played this other than the fact that I knew we're married. I didn't forget that,
I'm
and
glad you
I
remember
know,
that.
right? And
Good job.
we like to play a lot of co-op games together. So whenever something co-op comes down the pike, I'm like, oh, this might be something good to play with the wife, and you're the wife,
That's
so
me.
that is you. What do you think of it so far? Like, what's your thoughts on KeyWe?
It's very cute. It's it actually I think I mentioned this to you earlier that the music and the kind of sound effects and stuff remind me of what's the what was the Viva Pinata?
Viva Pinata,
That's
yes.
what it reminds me of. So I don't know if anybody's played that game, but it totally like when the things bust open and the little like sound that it makes. That's totally what it reminds me of. So it's very cute, super fun. It's just challenging enough that we need to make sure that we communicate with each other while we're like couch co-op and playing the game, and so that's been really fun. The one thing I would say so far that I find frustrating is we've tried to go back, right, and some of the very early levels and try and like get a gold, because there's the
Yeah,
different tiers of you got a silver or you got a bronze or you got to use suck
exactly,
or whatever,
exactly.
and we cannot. I think you and Witty got a gold. So I find that very frustrating that I haven't even gotten one
It,
gold.
it
And
was
my 12-year-old's like, yeah, I got one.
it
I
was
don't know what you're talking
it
about.
was fully an accident. I don't think we intended to get it.
But it is like like I don't understand how they make a gold happen, because we have like gone back and played like earlier, easier levels, and like we're like not even close to getting. I don't know. Anyway, so that's a little frustrating, but in general it's been pretty fun. I was wondering if it was going to be able to keep our attention, because like you said, it's like they're these kiwis in a post office. Okay, cool, but and you have the same general tasks that you need to do. Like you said, there's the telegram, send a package. What's the other one? There's like one other one that's like a
Like
regular, I guess
delivering
it's the
mail,
mail,
the different things,
sorting.
sorting
This,
through
yeah,
mail.
sorting. So I wasn't sure if they were going to be able to keep it going. And so far they separate it out by season. So you do your summer season first, I think was what it was, or
Yeah,
was it summer?
spring, summer, something like that.
So and we're in like I don't know, 3 seasons in now. I think we're in like the 3rd season, and it's it's still been fun. It's still been interesting. It's still like they change it up just enough to be like, "Oh, okay, like same idea, but here's this additional challenge." So, I've enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's interesting because they have really gone above and beyond in trying to keep it fresh. I mean, like literally, like this is not a joke. Like literally every level introduces at least one new element. So on one hand, it's good because you're constantly doing something new. On the other hand, I think there is kind of a downside to it because just about the time that we're getting good at doing something, we have to like learn something new, and the old thing that we learned is maybe not applicable anymore. So I feel like we are constantly like at scrub level of skill because we're always relearning the next skill and not really polishing up. But it's funny because just like you said, after we'd gotten through 3/4 of the game, we went back to like literally like level one, and we're like, okay, now that we have played all this amount of KeyWe and we're so much better, and we're great gamers to begin with, yuck yuck yuck, we're gonna go back and like rack up some golds in level one, right? Yeah, no fucking way. Like we literally can't get a gold in any of these levels, and I'm just like, I wish they would just be a little bit easier. In fact, I think that's kind of my big complaint of the game so far. It's really cute, and I really like it a lot. And we kind of took a pause, but I would like to come back to it. But I think the thing that I'm finding is that it's demanding just like a little too much skill. In the beginning, no big deal, but like when they start adding 3 and 4 and 5 different elements, like one person's got to get a sticker, one person's got to look at a map for the address, one person's got to like type something on the typewriter, one person's got to like do like there's like 5 or 6 and 7 different things you got to do in one level. It gets to be like really a lot, and I feel like it's just one notch tougher or requires one notch more concentration than I want to do for a co-op party game like this. It kind of reminds me of something like Overcooked, where Overcooked, like it's hard, but you always know you're always doing like the same kind of 3 things. Like you're always getting the food, washing the dishes, serving the dish, and there's little spins on it, but you're kind of like iterating on that little thing, which is also true for Kiwi. But I feel like something about KeyWe, it just makes it a little bit more difficult. And I don't ever feel like I've got it. Like I feel like I'm always struggling to pick up the next skill. We'll get a bronze or whatever, go to the next level, and I feel like I'm kind of relearning from square one again. So I wish they would just dial back on the difficulty and maybe giving us a gold once in a while would be great. But I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't want to do a level like 15 times in a row to get a gold. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I'm definitely not going to do that. Yeah, I think the precision could be a little bit better. I think like the movement could be a little bit tighter.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel like because they want such a high level of accomplishment to get a gold, like I need my KeyWe to go where the fuck I tell him to go when
yeah,
the first time, not the third time. There's that part where you're trying to do the telegraph part and you're often like running right over the key that you need, and even though you clicked it. So there's definitely some precision stuff that I feel, could be tightened up a little bit that would help. I mean, also my, reaction time in games is not what it once used to be. So I'm sure that's part of the reason why my 12-year-old got a gold and I did not. But,
yeah. We're definitely
not
not.
that I'm bitter or
We're
anything.
definitely not 12. That's for sure. That's a good point though, because I do feel like they want you to perform at a very high level, especially if you want to get a gold. But your point about the controls not being super tight is great. I mean, your Kiwis. I mean, okay, fine, they're Kiwis. I guess you want to have a little stumbly bumbly bird, and that's kind of fun. But at the same time, the time limits are really stringent, and I think there's also an element of like depth perception that is a problem, because in each level they're kind of multi-level where stuff in the back is higher, stuff in the front is lower, and there's often like boxes and ledges to jump up because again,
And
you're
we're
like,
constantly getting stuck under
yeah,
them.
yeah, because you're a small Kiwi, right? So like you're kind of like navigating this large human-sized environment. So rather than simply jumping up to a window ledge to get a letter, you've got to like jump up onto a box and then jump up onto like a some kind of parcel, and then you're on the ledge, and then you get on top. So you're doing a little bit of platforming, but it's not a platformer. You're just kind of like maneuvering the level. And sometimes I'll like jump and I'm like in back of something, or like I'm in front of something and I'm not where I think I should be, and just getting around the level sometimes eats into precious seconds. So I think that's a little bit irritating, and I wish that was slightly easier as well. So I wouldn't mind it so much if the time limits were a little bit more generous, but it is pretty frustrating. I mean, we've done a couple of these levels a few times, and we just
Still no
yeah, we
gold.
just really have a tough time shaving off. And it's the worst when we do one and we're like, oh man, we killed that one. Totally like working in like unison, reading each other's mind, got real good teamwork going on. No one's yelling at each other. It's great. And then it's like fucking still like no better than a
Yep.
silver. It's really frustrating. So
Yeah. One thing I do like though is you get to add little costumes and colors to your
sure.
KeyWe, which is fun. Because actually, when we first started playing, before we had the ability to change anything, it was actually hard to remember which KeyWe was which one you were.
Yeah.
And getting it was easy to get confused. So it was actually nice. It's actually helpful. So it's cute because you can change their colors and make them bright pink or rainbow color and give them little cute little hats, and that's adorable. But it's actually really helpful as well because then I can track my KeyWe a lot easier instead of thinking, wait, why am I not going to the? Oh, that's because it's you. So that also helps.
Yeah, the cosmetics are pretty fun, so kudos to that. And overall, I think it's a good game. Um, Definitely a little bit of frustration in the end sections, though. I kind of wish it would scale back a little bit. But overall, I mean, I definitely dig it. You dig it? How do you
Oh
feel?
yeah, I would recommend it to people that like playing co-op games together.
It's definitely not as rage inducing as like Overcooked or something like that
Oh
either.
no,
So
yeah.
speaking of which, co-op is something that you and I do a lot, and it's not something that Carlos and I ever do. So maybe this is a good time to just pause and just talk about that for just a moment. Speaking of co-op, what other games have we enjoyed or have you enjoyed? Anything you want to give like a shout out to that maybe people listening who have a partner might want to check out?
Well, I think some of our one of our earliest games that we played together was Helldivers. I think that was an early on.
Classic, one of my
Yes.
all-time favorites.
In fact, I think that was Witty's first co-op
It
game
might
with
have
us,
been his
right?
very first co-op game with us. Yeah,
Yeah.
possible.
So that one, Monster Hunter, obviously is super fun. I mean, we played with people all over the world in that game. Army of Two and The Division, I think, were fun ones, but I think both of those were like, it was only fun because we were playing together. I wouldn't probably have played it much otherwise, but those are ones that I can think of. Left 4
Yeah,
Dead, I think, was another one that we had a lot of fun with.
that's Left 4 Dead. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that was
very
another
true.
good one.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about Army of Two for a second. I mean, I don't know how many people remember that one, but you were two like private military contractors, a co-op game, and you had like a lot of armor and stuff. You look like kind of like real scary dudes. But they did like a lot of fist bumping. That was like one of the big hooks of the game. You could fist bump your partner. I think it even gave you like a little life bump or something like that. But I think that was an interesting one because you were going through these shooter levels, and you're exactly right. Like, I don't think the game would have been at all fun just playing it single player. I mean, putting the co-op part aside, I mean, basically all you do is go into a third person level and shoot dudes. Like, I mean, it's pretty basic. Like very light puzzles once in a while. Like maybe you're shooting a blinking red light on something. Like you're basically just shooting. But I think that the cover system, one person drawing aggro for the other, one person covering each other's back, and sometimes you could go back to back with your partner so that you could have like 360 coverage. I mean, some of that stuff is pretty cool. I wouldn't mind seeing like an updated version of that, especially now that like the graphics are so much better and the fidelity is so much better, and like the network is so much better. I mean, we did it all local, but I think there's definitely room to improve on that. I think. Would you mind going back for one of those?
Oh yeah, I would definitely go back and try it again. I agree though that I remember as we were playing it, we were like, man, if we were just like if I was just playing it by myself, this would be kind of boring because it's
Yeah.
literally just go in, shoot up a bunch of guys, go in, shoot up a bunch of guys. But then when it's the two of us, it's like, you go in and you kind of like get a strategy and you're helping each other out, but you're also just kind of fucking around and, so it's fun.
It's definitely one of those games that lives and dies by the friend factor, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And it's funny too because I often say that if a game requires people to be fun, then it's probably not a very good game to begin with, and I think that really holds true here. I don't think those games are ever very good, but they are a good opportunity to be with a good friend or a partner. And in that respect, I think they do shine. So that was pretty good. I mean, kind of the same thing with the Division as well. You and I really got into the Division, and we played a lot with Corey Motley, former co-host of the show. We would often three-man these missions, and again, perfect example. Playing the Division on your own, really fucking boring because you're just grinding, shooting dudes over and
Repetitive.
over, really repetitive. But when you've got one or two friends along, it was really fun. Like we played the shit out of Division number one. I mean, we beat the game together as a group, and then we did like some post game stuff. And I mean, I think we eventually hit a point where there just wasn't anything else to do, and we kind of fell off of it. But again, we had a great group of people, and that was something fun to do. So that's a good one. I mean, probably not anymore, but it was back then. But Monster Hunter, Helldivers, other stuff like that. So we get our co-op in. All right, couple more games to talk about, and then we're going to bounce. We do have one piece of mail from a listener. We got one comment, and I have one little bonus for us at the end. Just a couple quick words on a few games here. Both of these on the Switch. First, Hermitage Strange Case Files. This is a visual novel. Got some Cthulhu elements in it. You play a bookstore owner who has all sorts of weird books in his place. Barely ever leaves the bookstore, and people come to him with all sorts of occult problems. The first case is about a girl who's having these weird prophetic dreams, and she wants to know what's going on. You need to get to the bottom of it. So you talk to the girl. You have books that you can read through. You can text message people. There are message boards that you get on. You can read some rumors, and you're kind of just like going through trying to figure out what's going on. It really grabbed me pretty good at the start because they were going through the tutorial section, so you were getting a little taste of everything. Like you're talking, you were doing the phone, you were doing the computer, you got a notebook with some scraps you got to put into it. You were doing like you're doing like basically a little bit of everything as they were showing you the systems. I'm like, oh, this is great. I love this because it's like I want to say that I'm a fan of visual novels, but I'm a fan of a specific type of visual novel. I want one that is not just reading. I want one that really takes advantage of being a video game. So you can walk around, or there's choices in the branching dialogue, or there's items to collect, or there are maybe really quick QTEs, or something to like really take advantage of the medium. I don't like visual novels where it's just like 99% reading, where all you're doing is like advancing text. I mean, that might as well be a book, right? Like, take advantage of the medium. So when I started Hermitage, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Look at all these systems. This is really neat. I like it. It's jumping around. This is fun. But once I got past the tutorial stage, I like all that stuff kind of fell away. It became just like advancing text, advancing text, advancing text, advancing text, like tons of text. And I'm like, okay, I get that it's a visual novel, but I need a little bit more variety. Like I otherwise I would just read a book, right? Because it would just that's basically what I'm doing. So I kind of fell off of it because there was just too much text to get through, and I really wanted it to get back to doing the other things. So interesting story. I feel like the script was pretty well written. Translation was kind of spotty, where there's a few word choices where it was kind of head scratching. Some of the sentences I don't think really are written the way they should be, but it's not bad. I mean, I've definitely seen worse. And I think the premise is really interesting. The art is very good, but I'm just not the kind of player that can hang with a visual novel where most of what you're doing is advancing text. That's too boring for me and it makes me fall asleep. So if Hermitage had switched things up a little bit more and gotten to the other systems a little bit more, I think I definitely would have stuck with it. But as it is, I need a little bit more juice. So that's where I ended up on that. Probably will not finish it. Honey, you're not a big fan of visual novels, are you?
No, not really. I definitely, when I'm playing a game, I wanna do stuff. I wanna engage with things and do all that. I can read a book if I want to have a story.
Yeah, I mean, I know you're definitely not huge on like story-based games, with some exceptions. I think I'm definitely more tolerant of that than you are because I really like the writing in games and characterization sometimes.
And I just want to hurry up and
Yeah,
get to the action.
you are definitely the skip through the dialogue person, that's for
I
sure.
don't always skip through the
You
dialogue,
read
but
quickly and move on, though.
I
Yes,
skim. I
you're
skim.
you're a skimmer, skimmer. So yeah, I mean, Strange Case Files. If you're a person who doesn't mind like really, really, really text-heavy visual novels, definitely check it out. I think there's some good stuff going on. I just need it to be a little bit more varied for my particular taste. Last game to mention of the show, Timelie, Timelie. Although when you look at it on the title screen, there's a little background art that makes it look like it's trying to say timeline. They do a little visual trick there, but actually it's Timelie. This is a top-down, kind of an isometric puzzle game where you play a girl and a cat in these abstract levels where there are a lot of locked doors, there are a lot of keypads, there are a lot of robots who are on guard. So it's really like a stealth avoidance game. But the hook to this is that you've got a lot of time manipulation. You can speed time up, you can slow time down, you can you have these kind of like little visions where you can kind of like play through a level first to see what's going on, which is kind of weird because the game says you're getting a preview of the level, but what you're actually doing is playing the level. And then when you solve it, it says something like engage, and then you do it, and then you see yourself playing through on autopilot what you just did, which I guess is the narrative premise of like, oh, now that you mentally figured it out, now you're doing it for realsies. Strange thing. It's kind of a strange premise. Um, the graphics are pretty good. I think the concept is interesting, but it's a very system heavy, very finicky game where you're going to be caught by the robots a lot, and it's a lot of it is about like split second timing, dodging robots, figuring out what order to open keypads in, like a lot of locked doors, and it's very slow going. I was hoping it would be just like slightly more action focused, but it's really, really slow, really, really dense, really, really just kind of just kind of I mean, honestly kind of tedious a little bit. I'm not the biggest fan of like really, really, really hardcore stealth. I mean, I don't mind some stealth for sure. But this is basically all about like step by step by step stealth with multiple moving pieces, including robots, line of sight, fast forwarding time, also time powers where you can activate certain things like a bridge falls. You can make the bridge reform itself by reversing time. I mean, honestly, it feels a little bit overcomplicated to me, and it feels very like I'm wading through systems and really trying to just get into a flow. But there's just a lot of things to manage, and it just feels very, very busy in a way that I don't especially appreciate. So I did not spend a lot of time with Timeline. I definitely don't think it's for me, but for people who like really crunchy systems, if you're like a big stealth head, if you really like multi-layered puzzles and like pulling those apart, maybe it's for you. I mean, honey, does this seem at all like something that you might want to get into?
I mean, I really enjoy puzzles. I enjoy a game that has some good puzzles to figure out, so that's definitely a piece I enjoy. But you were mentioning stealth, and
Yeah,
that
it's
yeah,
really stealth heavy. Yeah.
yeah, no. I'm not
Not a
not
stealth fan.
again. I want to get into the action. I don't want to creep around, and so
Yeah.
not that part so much.
Yeah, I don't like strict stealth. I mean, I don't mind stealth being one element where it's like sneak around, but if you get caught, maybe you fight your way out, or maybe you have other options or something. But the whole sneak, and if you get caught, you got to go back and just try it again. Those kind of wear on me a little bit. I mean, same for you.
Yeah, I don't find that enjoyable.
Yeah, I can't say that I'm the biggest fan of those pure stealth experiences, but all right. Anyway, that is Timelie. So heads up on that one. Those are all the games we're going to cover on this episode, but we do have a couple of comments from listeners, and we have one little bonus at the end. First, the bonus. Before we get any further, I meant to mention this at the top of the show, but Carlos did send us a file. I know that he's laid up in the hospital. He's got a lot of antibiotics going on, but he did find the strength to send us a really quick clip about his thoughts on Kina, Bridge of Spirits. I don't recall if we've ever talked about this on the show before. I don't think so. So I will have that clip at the end of the show if I can figure out how to splice it into this into this recording. Fingers crossed on that. We'll see. No promises. But if I do manage to figure that out, it'll be after the closing music. So stay tuned for Carlos's quick audio clip of Kina, Bridge of Spirits. So heads up on that. In the meantime, we did get one comment from Night Dreamer via Twitter. I was letting people know that Gina was going to be at the show this week, and he chimed in to say, I just want to say Gina is awesome. And you know what? I agree, Night Dreamer.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I agree. Thank you for that comment. Another comment comes from superfan Elio Campitelli. Hello, Elio. He sent in an email a couple weeks ago. My bad. We should have had it on last week's show. Because he wanted to chip into our Game of the Year discussion. Now, full disclosure, he did send it in a little bit late. He sent it in after we had already recorded the show, so there was no point at which we could have gotten it onto that episode. But we are doing it one episode late, so I do apologize. So downside, we didn't get to it sooner. Upside, he's got this entire segment all to himself now. So I guess 6 of one, half dozen of another. Elio Campitelli, here is your choices. We asked you for 3 of your favorite experiences last year and 1 stinker. Here's what Elio says. Let's see. He says, in general, I don't play games in the year they're released, so here's my list of games I played. Top 3 in no particular order, and a brief review that I'm welcome to ignore. Well, we'll get to that. Let's see. First one that he likes is Outer Wilds Echo of the Eye. He says, this is fantastic DLC for a fantastic game. When I first heard about DLC for Outer Wilds, I was skeptical. The base game tells a complete story and it's such a unique experience. How can they add something meaningful on top of it? But oh boy, did they. Echoes of the Eye captures the next sense of wonder, introduces new unique areas to explore, and it fits perfectly within the world of the base game, including answering a question I didn't even realize was left unanswered. Interesting. I've heard a lot of people go back and forth on this one. Some people I thought it was great. Elio, you clearly think it's great. Some people I've heard felt like it was terrible. So I don't know where I would land on that, but you definitely like that one. So good job. Gina, would you like to talk about his second choice right here?
Sure. So this is Celeste. Played this around April this year after reading an article that talked about Celeste in the context of transgender experiences. I usually don't gravitate towards punishing platformers, and I don't find pixel art all that attractive. But against all odds, Celeste hooked me from the start. The controls are tight and predictable, and while it is hard, due to the instant respawn and infinite lives, it is also fairly forgiving. The story is touching, and the sound design is unparalleled. Lena Raine's soundtrack has burrowed its way into my staple music and inspired me to learn to play the piano. A pretty neat conclusion to a game all about pushing yourself to overcome obstacles. That's a nice little summary there.
Yeah, you did a good job.
I like it.
You played Celeste, didn't you? Did you play some of that? I thought you might have tried it for a minute. Like a hot second, maybe.
Maybe?
I played.
don't know.
I'm pretty sure you did for you played the first level or something. I played Celeste when it came out. I love Celeste. I think it's really, really good. It is real hard, but to its credit, number one, the controls are spot on. I mean, it's a very fair difficulty, very demanding, but it does perform if you have the skill. On the plus side, though, they have oodles of accessibility options, so you can turn on invincibility, extra jumping, like slowing down time. Like you can do all sorts of things because the developers definitely put in difficulty, but they also wanted people to fucking play the goddamn game, which I absolutely respect. So for people who don't want that challenge, which was, I mean, granted, a lot of people, you can just play through the game. Get this, the story is great, the music's great, I think the graphics are great. I love Celeste a lot. I mean, I played it on normal mode, and I was definitely bashing my head against a brick wall a few times, but I did get there. But I really, really appreciate how there are options, and it's a great game. So that's a good pick. Um, Next one from Elio. This is another good one. The Artful Escape, which was one of my top 10 of the year. He says, I've already nagged you with this game enough in my previous email, which we read a couple episodes back. So I'll just say that this game is a feast for the senses that begs to be read as a trans story. Totally 100% agree. It is like 99.9% a trans narrative. And I am still scratching my head that the developers just didn't take that last 0.01%. So let's say he has a surprise pick, a fourth game. Gina, would you like to pick this one?
Sure. Parasite Eve, his surprise fourth game. And he says, if I can be so bold, I'll add a fourth game that was released 23 years ago. I mean, that's forever ago. I mean, our son thinks the 80s is like prehistoric.
He
So,
thinks that
I mean,
brontosauruses were walking around in the 80s.
1998, that is ancient.
Did we have fire at that point yet?
I don't think so. I think we were trying to invent a wheel or something like that. Anyway, this gem from 1998 has its rough edges, but it's still really enjoyable even today. The mutated creatures are gross and interesting to look at, and the bosses even more so. The weird PS1 era low polygon graphics and the stiff plastic looking pre rendered cutscenes actually enhance the bizarre, unnatural style that contrasts with the realistically presented backdrop. The story is nonsense of such a high level that it circles back and becomes genuinely fun. The main character, Ayabrea, is weirdly compelling from what little she actually says or does. The way she combats these nightmarish monstrosities with a gun and dressed in jeans and a black jacket feels fresh and even relatable.
Man, what a crazy pick, and what a perfect pick for the show. Parasite Eve. Holy shit, that brings back memories. Wow. I mean, I love that game back in the day when Square Enix was, I think, just Square. No Enix at that point, I'm pretty sure. And they were being really experimental with a lot of stuff. It wasn't just about Final Fantasy at that time. They were doing lots of different IPs, stuff like, well, whatever. Lots of stuff that I can't name, but if I went back and Googled it, I would have lots of examples. Brave Fencer Musashi and stuff like that, like really crazy stuff. So great game, and I think even Parasite Eve 2 is really, really cool. I think this IP is definitely due for an update, and I would love to see it done with all the bells and whistles that Square Enix has at their disposal now, with an eye towards gameplay. I think something really cool could come from that. So good pick, Elio. I really I mean, I had never would have in a million years guessed you picked that one, but good pick. And your choice for this year's stinker, ooh, this is going to be a controversial one. Solar Ash. Elio says a game based on speed and fluid motion should never stop, but Solar Ash only stops. Both the fragility of the character and the design of the boss fights, in quotes, means that even the tiniest of errors leads to a death. The result is that most time is spent going from the last checkpoint to where I was before I died, instead of gracefully soaring the colorful skies of the Ultra Void. On top of that, traversal is just not that interesting. It's impossible not to compare this to The Pathless, whereas in that game, movement itself was the gameplay as you gain speed by actively shooting targets. Here, it's just press RT to go, which I guess is my sound for power skating across clouds. Terribly disappointing. So, you know, I didn't finish Solar Ash. I liked part of it, and I actually kind of agree with this in a lot of ways. I think you're pretty on point about the checkpoints and the boss fights. Those are pretty buzzkill. And to be honest, I didn't really care for the traversal that much. I like the graphics, the themes. It's really pretty game to look at, but real talk, it didn't click with me. So I get where you're coming from. So, Elio, thank you very much for your contribution. Sorry we didn't get to him sooner, but there you go. And that's going to do it for the show. As always, we'd love to get your questions and comments. Hit us up, sovideogamespodcast@gmail.com. We're on Twitter @SoVideoGames. We're also on TikTok, I guess. So Video Games Podcast. I'm not sure if Carlos has been updating that or not. Let us know. But you can also reach us individually. Gina, where would you like people to reach you on the social media, if at all?
I guess just mainly Twitter. I think all my other stuff is private.
Makes perfect
So
sense. I would want that stuff private too. Where can they reach you on Twitter? What's your Twitter handle?
it is Gina Galloway, GinaGallaway.
Is that all A's, no O's?
That is all A's, no O's, as it should be.
Nice. All right. As for me, same as always on Twitter, on Instagram, it's BradGallaway. And like she said, all A's, no O's. And that's going to do it for episode 266. Thank you all again for joining us here on the So Video Games podcast. And we will see you next Friday. But in the meantime, this is Bye from Brad.
And bye from Gina.
Hey everybody, Carlos here with a review of Kena Bridge of Spirits on the So Video Games podcast, which I'm normally on, but right now I'm away for the week, so this is a remote segment. How you doing, Brad? Oh, you can't answer me? Well, I'll just talk then about a video game. Kena Bridge of Spirits is a game I've been trying to play for a while. I put it on my backlist. I was thinking about it. I got distracted. And what's interesting is I just finished that Biomutant game, which I actually like, and I'll talk about it even more probably, but I did finish it, rolled credits. And it's an action RPG. There's a lot of crafting, but it is similar to Kena in the way that you have a little character, action-based, combat, and you're upgrading yourself, and Kena has that. So what is Kena? For one thing, it's beautiful. It's done by Ember Labs. I think that's their first game. They originally did a lot of CGI, computer graphics, beautiful animation stuff. And they were like, let's make a game because we already make like the graphics. So let's make a game to go along with it. And I'm so glad they did because this is a really special game and it is beautiful. So first off, it's a story game. You play as Kena, a young spirit guide who's traveling through an abandoned village to find out about this mountain shrine. But really what the story's about is you're a spirit guide, and it's kind of a somber game because there's a lot of sad stories that she learns about, people who have passed, and she learns about how they passed, what their history was, and it really does speak to me on like a lot of different levels because I have Native American in me, and I'm definitely, my dad talked about spirits and wind and listening to the wind. So there's a lot of stuff that hit home with me on this. As well as just, it's an interesting juxtaposition because it's cute and Pixar-ish in one like type of thing. But then on another way, it's dark and kind of sad. And then on a third way, the combat's like challenging. You definitely have to dodge and like charge your attack, and there's bow and arrow stuff. So it's a tough game. I put it down as story mode because come on, I'd rather finish the game. And I heard that other challenging levels of difficulty levels are super, super hard, like Dark Souls style. So, but I put it on story mode. It's challenging even in that mode at times, but it's fun. And it's really, really fun. And I'm upgrading my melee tree, of course, the first thing I'm doing. And yeah, you have the staff, you have a bow and arrow. You can upgrade both of them. I immediately upgraded to like where you can take my staff and turn it into a hammer. Because I almost felt like, hey, I'm in a melee, two-handed melee, what type of situation with Kena. And then Kena also finds all these little creatures, rots, which is a terrible name for them because they're adorable. And rot kind of reminds me of Roach. He's the horse in Witcher. Terrible name. Terrible name for both of them. But they are adorable and they help you. They can basically bind up enemies. They can like destroy these red infectious kind of areas. The whole idea of this place that you're at is there's beautiful scenery and nice villages, but then some stuff is infected with this like dark red and black stuff. And so the little spirits can help you destroy those and then kind of make the whole area better again, which again has some very similarities to Biomutant because there's some stuff that's like that in there. And, you know, games where you basically just like destroy the darkness and make things new again. So that's kind of a fun mini game. And then also you can actually take the little rots and use them to unblock certain sections they form into a bubble and they do stuff. Anyways, in general, it's an action game with these, you know, story elements. I think the thing that I was surprised by the most was just how dark some of the stories are and how kind of sad it is as you kind of uncover how people, you know, passed and learn about their past. You go to a little village and you kind of like, you know, see these little signs left about things that have happened there. And it really does feel like you're alone. Like you're talking to people, but a lot of them are spirits because you're a spirit guide and they're not really there. And I don't know if I've actually met a real person yet in the game. I don't think I have. Yeah, the arch nemesis, minor spoiler, that you first meet in the very first second or whatever. I'm pretty sure he's a spirit. So I think I've only met spirits and little creatures. But I love it. I really, really do enjoy it. There's platforming. The only part I don't like in the platforming is that there's that kind of Uncharted traversal where you have to like climb onto the sides of walls and, you know, jump to the ledge and jump to the other ledge. I just don't want that anymore. Please don't give it to me in any game. I don't want to jump from ledge to ledge and look out and then do a jump. No. I don't want to do any of that gameplay. There's a little of that in here that kind of bothers me, but I like the combat a lot. I like the fact that you can upgrade yourself, so it has that kind of like action RPG light feel to it. It's beautiful. And I didn't even mention this. There's two modes, which we always hate, talk about in the show. There's performance mode and fidelity mode. Someday those will be gone. But the performance mode is very close to fidelity mode, more than any other game. And you would think they're going to get it right because, you know, they do really cool graphics first and foremost. And so they nailed it. Like 60 frames per second at 4K, whatever they're doing the fidelity mode, like souped up, it's not worth it. Like 30 frames is just crazy for this game because it is very fast. So that's my quick synopsis. I really like it. It's beautiful. It's a little bit weird in the fact that it seems like it's for kids or something at times and Pixar-ish and, you know, the little cute rots. Terrible name. And then it's like really difficult and then it's challenging. And then the bow and arrow stuff is kind of difficult and challenging, but satisfying. I'm a little confused on who it's for, but it's definitely for me. I think if you like action RPGs, yeah, and an adventure game with a really interesting story. And I'm very, very also excited about, you know, this kind of tribal nature to it. And it just feels really grounded and interesting more than I thought. So this is a thumbs up from Carlos, and I'll see you all on the podcast next week. Thanks, Brad. Oh, you're not going to answer me? Okay. And that's bye from Carlos.